What's happening, my people? Welcome back to another episode of Trafford Talk. You know how we do it here. We don't waste any time. So, without further ado, we're gonna go straight into it. Was the Fulham victory lucky? In my opinion, certainly not. But one big takeaway we can get from the game was that I think it is definitely the performance was the cause of concern. For those of you who can remember, this time last season, our first game of the season was against Wolves, and our performance was mediocre, just as bad as this performance, if not worse. So, and we know how we ended up last season. So, I'm now, guys. I'm not saying that this season is going to be an exact repeat of last season, but what I'm just saying is just that based on the performance on Friday, it's really hard to take too many positives and to have too many hopes ahead of the season. But in terms of the cause for concerns, style of play, we're still looking the same. We're still looking lackluster on the ball. I still can't tell what our identity is, what our style of play is. I can't tell whether we're a transitional team or whether we're a play of the possession team. I still feel like even the players themselves on the pitch, it seems like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what kind of style of play they have to play. It just seems like everyone is just out there doing their own thing. It's like no one's got instructions. I know it's only the first game of the season, so I'm not gonna be too overcritical. I'm not gonna go crazy and stuff like that. But these are things that we have been seeing now for a while. This is nothing new. The lack of style of play, the lack of identity, the lack of patterns of play. Like this is nothing new. We've been seeing this like from this manager like almost since he's joined. So like this is not something we can just brush under the carpet and just act like it's normal. So that is a big cause of concern. It begs to wonder, like, what have we been doing throughout this whole preseason? What have we been playing at? What instructions have been given throughout this preseason? You know, Even with the players we're bringing in, you know, don't get me wrong, Lenny Yoro, the league, Mazraoui, all good players in their own right, but still, it doesn't give you a clear indication as to what direction we're trying to go to on the pitch with the players that we're bringing in. Like all these players are kind of different in their own styles. Like, don't get me wrong, balance is important in the game. Balance is important in the team, but based on the signings we brought in so far, it doesn't give a clear indication of what style we're trying to play or what tactics we might be implementing throughout the season. So these are causes for concern. Um, like I said, this has been something that has been evident for a long time with this manager. So I know it's not going to change overnight, but since it's only game one, I don't want to be too overcritical. But like I said in my post match review, I don't want to dwell into this review too much because I've already done a post match review on it. So if I'm gonna do that, I might as well just copy and paste the post match review and put it on here. But what I'm just gonna what I'm just gonna say about the match is just that there's just certain things that I saw from the match that replicated last season, like the man-to-man marking, which for everyone who's been watching us under this manager know that it's not worked. It's not been working at all. The man-to-man marking has left us exposed time and time again. Somehow, how this manager doesn't see this, I will never know. I don't understand. But the man-to-man marking it just doesn't work. Not only does it not work, but we don't have the right players for it. We don't have the styles of players for it. That kind of style is good if you have dogs, if you have got hybrid players who are just able to just run 90 minutes endlessly. But we don't have those kind of players. We don't have those styles of players. Casemiro isn't that kind of player. We know Casemiro is not as dynamic as a as an Ugarte who we're looking at in the market. So he's definitely not fit for that man-to-man style. Kobe Mino is not that type of player as well. So a lot of the times we find ourselves exposed. We find ourselves always in the back foot, and somehow this manager doesn't see it. I really don't know, to be honest. I really don't know what's been happening in the preseason, but these are things that need to be spoken about. These are things that have been seen time and time again, and a change needs to be made. Seriously, a change needs to be made stylistically, in terms of the pattern of play, defensively. Changes need to be made. Now, look, we did have a lot of injuries last season, so maybe that might have played a factor. So that's why I'm not being too overcritical. But this season, availability wise, we're going in with a decent fully fit squad. So I'm not looking forward to hearing any excuses from the manager or anyone from the board, or no excuses at all. So, like I said, a lot of things got to change. A lot of things got to change. You know that this match was a cause for concern. Even though we won, great that we won. Good goal from Xerxes. Happy for him, debut goal. But there was still a lot of holes evident that on the if Fulham had been a bit more, what's the word, a bit more efficient, or a bit more effective with their passing, or their style of play, they probably would have left victorious. So we got away with one. I'm not saying we were lucky, but on another day we could have definitely lost that game. So I don't want us going to the season this way. I don't want us having performances like this every other game, coming out at the end of every game thinking to ourselves, "Oh my God, we got away with one." Like, no, that's not the way. That's not the way things should be at this club. The expectations are high, and the players have to live up to those expectations. So, like I said, I'm not going to dwell too much into the Fulham game because I've already done a post-match review on that. But tactics-wise, the man-to-man defending, it's got to be cut. We have to just resort back. We just have to resort back to just defending in a block, in two blocks of four. Like the man-to-man marking just ain't it's just no work. We just don't have the players for it, unfortunately. Had we the players for it, fair enough. I don't mind that, but we just don't have the players for it. So that will not work in a million years. So it will be interesting to see in the game against Brighton how we get on. But yeah, based on that match again as well. Like I said, lots of holes that Fulham could have taken advantage of, but they didn't. So based on those holes, like I was talking about in the midfield, the dynamism is not there at all. Yes, I know Kobe Mainoo is still young, but he's not a dynamic player. That's not his game. He's not that type of player. He's a player who likes being on the ball, who likes tiki taka, tapping it around, get the ball, give it, get the ball, give it. And I've seen it on social media, and I hate this because I see that a lot of people misprofile him. A lot of people, I don't know, put him in this bracket as a six. I don't know what they see in Kobe Mino as a six. Maybe it's just that he's got a big frame, a big physical frame. That's what gives people that sense, that false sense of what you call it, that false sense of knowledge that he's a six. But he's far from a six. And I don't want Kobe Mainoo to fall into that bracket as well, where he's being misprofiled. Just the same way as we did with Pogba, where Pogba was in the club for the best part of 6 years, and he was being misprofiled as a six. He was being misprofiled as this player that he wasn't. And then before you know it, look, with the Pogba situation, that's a conversation for another day. But all I'm just saying is just that I don't want a player, a special talent like Kobe Mainoo, to fall under that same bracket where we misprofile him and lose a lot out of his talents just because we're playing him in the wrong position. But based on the game as well, it's clear to see that we need reinforcements. We do have a good starting 11 on paper, but going ahead season wise, we cannot stick to that team like for the whole season. We cannot ride out with that team for the whole season. We do need reinforcements. As of now, we must we're meant to be nearing down a deal with Ugarte. Whether it's going to be a loan or a straight transfer, we're yet to see. But the Ugarte deal seems to be getting closer and closer by the day. How do I feel about Ugarte? I mean, I like him. I have no complaints. Another big player who's played in big games, who's played for a big club. So he's been there. I know he's still very young, but That's what we need. We need that youth. We need that youthful energy. We need that dynamism that we lack in the midfield, and he's got that. He's almost kind of like a younger version of a Casemiro, if that makes sense. He's but with more of a dynamism to it to his game. He can run about a bit more than Casemiro can. So having Ugarte would be a big plus. So I really hope that we can secure the deal before the Liverpool game. Maybe that is not a realistic expectation, but that would be my hope for sure. Fofana, the Fofana talk is kind of going to be quiet. To be honest, I would have preferred Fofana over Ugarte, to be honest, because I feel like Fofana would suit our team a bit more than Ugarte. I feel like Fofana complements both Casemiro and Kobe Manu more than Ugarte would. But I'm not complaining at the idea of Ugarte for sure, for sure. Um, I think since Rasmus is injured, I don't know how long Rasmus is injured for, so that means that Xerxes would have to take the helm. I assume that Xerxes was brought in to be the number two to Hoyland, but obviously now since Hoyland is injured, obviously that now leaves Xerxes to take the helm and be our number nine for the moment being. So it's gonna be interesting to see when Hoyland comes back how Ten Hag is gonna try to play around with that nine position. But I feel like in the nine we should be fine having them two around. I think up front, depth wise, we are fine. You know, since Ahmad is staying, Anthony's around. Sancho is a big conversation because every day that passes, news keeps coming out about Sancho that he might be heading away on loan. Sometimes he might be staying. There's news that he might be staying. We're not even really too sure whether the relationship between him and Ten Hag has been fully repaired or it's just all PR. So it's very interesting, with the Sancho news. Personally, I would like Sancho to stay. I mean, we saw his performances for Dortmund last season in the Champions League. So we know that there's a player there. There's a good player. All we just need to do is just find the right balance, find him, try to put him in the right system, and we can unlock a good player there. So I would definitely keep him. I would definitely do my best to keep him. Obviously, whether he wants to stay or go, that's his decision. If he wants to leave, absolutely we can't force him to stay. But I would go out of my way to keep him for sure, for sure. Um, like I said, in midfield, the Ugarte deal is nearing by the day. I hope that we can have him in the squad by the Liverpool game. But if not, that is fair enough. There's also been news about Amrabat. I don't know how I feel about the Amrabat news, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to be too hard on him because he was part of a difficult team, part of a difficult period. He didn't get that much of a game time, and in the moments that he got game time, man, he was all over the place. But so was the team. So I don't want to put it solely down to him. I feel like he struggled to adjust personally and professionally. He struggled to adjust to life in Manchester. He struggled to adjust to the Premier League in general, to the team in general. So the Amrabat talk, I don't know. I'm not there, to be honest. I'm not really feeling it. If I'm honest, I would have rather kept Sabitzer over Amrabat. So the Amrabat talk, I'm not hearing it, to be honest. I'm not there for it. Defensively, I think we are fine. Lenny Yoro is out for a couple of weeks, so by the time he's back, we should be fine. Lindelof, whether he's on the verge of going to Fenerbahce, it's still in the conversations. So whether Lindelof leaves or not, I think we're still fine defensively. I think we're still fine. I don't see Maguire leaving. Yes, there's talk about Maguire leaving, but I doubt it. I think Maguire would rather stick on the bench, earning however much he's earning instead of going to a West Ham and being on a pay cut. To be honest, so yeah, I think Maguire is content being in the squad, just being second, third choice option. But yeah, defensively, I think we're okay. Left back is a bit of a concern. Just in the back of my head, left back is a bit of a concern because obviously Luke Shaw is out. Malacia is just coming back from injury, so he's still on the rehab side, just doing solo training at the moment. So we don't know how long that's gonna take, and when he comes back, we don't know how ready, how fit, how prepared he will be to get ahead with the season. So we don't want to put too much hopes and too much pressure, on Malacia. He hasn't played for God knows how long, for over 8 months. So I don't want to put that kind of pressure on him. So literally all the only fullbacks we have at the moment are Dallo and Mazraoui. And my biggest worry is that if either of them get injured, the positive thing is that either of them can switch, play left or right. But if either of them get a niggle or a little injury, what then? That's my worry. That's my worry. What then? So that is just the cause for concern in the back of my head. But then again, I wouldn't be too mad if we don't go in the market for a fullback, because it seems like what Ten Hag is trying to do is have Licha on the left. He's trying to play Licha as a left back. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of it because Licha doesn't have the recovery pace on the left back as a left back, but I guess he can do a makeshift job, if we need it, to be honest. Um, and as for the game against Brighton, it's gonna be interesting to see how we line up. I mean, Brighton are just coming off the back of a good victory against Everton. I mean, Everton. What can I say? What can I say? Everton didn't put up a fight at all. You know, um, Brighton look good. They look very impressive, considering that they had lost their manager and they'd lost Pascal Gross. I genuinely felt that was going to set them back a lot this season. But based on the Everton performance, they look good. They look good. They still look dangerous. So this game, we cannot take this game for granted. Oh, certainly after our performance against Fulham, we cannot take this game for granted. We cannot underestimate them one bit. Heck, our record at the Brighton Stadium over the last couple of seasons has been poor. We've been getting thumped left, right, and center. I think I feel like we've probably won maybe once or twice there in the last maybe 4 to 6 years. So our record there the last couple of years is not great. Brighton always, like, they always turn up against us at the Amex. So this is not going to be an easy game, and we have to be on our A game if we're to get a result up there for sure. Um, it will be interesting to see what the lineup is. I expect Ten Hag to go with a similar lineup as he did for this game. Um, only difference, I think, might just be that Xerxes might just start the game though, just because he scored. So I see Xerxes starting the game, Man possibly being dropped, and then Bruno goes back to the 10, Ahmad on the right, Rashford on the left. So yeah, if that's how he lines up, I will have no complaints. Onana in goals, Dallo right back, or Mazraoui right back, Licha and Maguire in the two, and then Dallo left back, Kobe Maino and Casemiro in the two, and then Bruno in the middle, Rashford on the left, Ahmad on the right, Xerxes in the 9. I'm happy with that. I'm happy. I have no complaints with that. If that's how we line up, I have no complaints. I'd be surprised if he does anything else, or if he goes for the exact same team that he put out against Fulham. I'd really be surprised, because I feel like Xerxes did put a good account of himself. To be fair, I do understand that Ten Hag is trying to blood Xerxes in slowly. He's trying to blood him in slowly and just letting him adjust to the league bit by bit. He doesn't want to put him under too much pressure too soon, which I completely understand. But look, he clearly shows that he's good enough. I mean, he was part of a Bologna team that made the Champions League qualification. So he's not no 18-year-old kid that just came out of the academy. Like, he's a pro. Like, he's seasoned, So I don't mind him starting from the get go, to be honest. So that's my predicted lineup for the game against Against Brighton, like I said, Brighton. I expect Brighton to be dominant in possession since it's at the Amex. I expect them to be dominant in possession. I expect them to be threatening. It's going to be a very interesting game. Very, very interesting game. I feel like we will be content with being behind the ball. We'll be content and with allowing them having the ball. That's how the games have gone against Brighton over the years. So it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be very parallel styles. You know, Brighton being a very much possession based team, and then us being, I don't know, I guess a transitional team, you know, hitting off on the counter, hitting off like quickly, winning the ball back and hitting teams unpredictably. So it's gonna be a very, very, very interesting game. A game of two different styles. My score prediction, I will go for just because the performance against Fulham was not great, and it's only the start of the season. I might go for a score draw, 1-1 to be specific. I think it's going to be a score draw. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be a score draw. But it should be an interesting game. Certainly going to be difficult. Brighton are no pushovers at the Amex. They're gonna make us work hard. If we're to get anything from that game, they're gonna make us work for it. So we cannot go there. We cannot go there and underestimate them. We cannot take anything for granted in this game. But yeah, that's my match. That's my match prediction. My score prediction for the match. Um, as for all those of you who are watching the video, thank you again for supporting the channel. Thank you again for engaging on all social medias. We're seeing all the supports. We're trying our best to engage with everyone on Twitter or on TikTok, wherever it is you're engaging. We appreciate all the support. Thank you again for the 50 subscribers. We're pushing on to now onto 100 now. So keep supporting. Any support is appreciated, much appreciated. So I'm gonna be back again for the post-match review against Brighton. Fingers crossed the review can be a victory. But other than that, tune into Richie's chat about Chelsea video. Should be out maybe today or tomorrow, and Lawrence should be out with a Gunner Inside video tomorrow, I think. So in that case, my people, enjoy the video, and I'm gonna see you again soon. Peace.